Have you seen Finding Nemo? It's a great movie when you're talking about biology and ecology. All right, this is Mr. Norris again from Norris Teaches Science. Biology edition video, we're continuing in ecology, and today I present to you ecological interactions. So by end of video, you should say I can express interactions and relationships between organisms in an ecosystem. So what is an ecological interaction? It's the effect an individual of one species may exert on an individual of another species. Now, it could be positive, it could be negative, it could be neutral. There's many different combinations here, but it also can affect the distribution and the abundance of organisms. Those are big words there. It means how many there are and where there are. So let's jump in and tell you what the three types of interactions that we have: competition, predation, and symbiosis. And symbiosis can be divided into multiple types. And we're going to talk about three main ones there. So let's first talk about competition. Competition is when two organisms are fighting for the same resource or resources. And it's because there's some type of limited resource. So it could be that the birds are fighting for a certain food source in a tree. You could have other organisms fighting for shelter, or you could have this horse and this dog fighting for this t-shirt they all want. But you reduce competition by having different niches, however you say it, in the environment. What that means is that animals have different roles in the environment, and so if they have different roles in the environment, they have less competition. Predation is one species feeds on another species. So when you have that, you have your predator, which is the organism that does the eating. So in this case, in this picture, the shark would be the predator, and the prey is the organism that's going to get ate. And that would be this seal. I do want to mention, I seen the video this comes from. The seal gets away. For all you animal lovers out there, it gets away. This seal does. The shark ends up getting a seal. There's a lot of blood. Now, when you look at predator and prey, you have to look at the predator-prey graph. So what you notice here, you have the number of individuals on the y-axis and months on the x-axis. So this is a line graph. And so you first notice that the gazelles, their population goes up. As their population goes up, the lion's population will go up as well. But if you notice, as the lion's population goes up, the gazelle's population is going down. And that's because more lions equals more gazelles ate. But when the gazelle population goes down, you notice the lion population will go down. Because there are less food for the lions, some of the lions will have to die because they cannot eat anything. And it just continues doing this. My question is, what about plants? Well, it probably would be something like this. It'd be the same process. The plants go up right before the gazelles go up, but when the gazelles go up, the plant population goes down because they're all related to each other. Because predation could even be the predator being the cow and the prey being the grass. It's as long as something is fed on something else. And then we have symbiosis. This is when two organisms of different species live together, and have live in quotation marks because sometimes they live peacefully, sometimes they don't even notice each other, and sometimes one of them gets harmed. And so our three types we're going to talk about are mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. All right, mutualism. I have a plus here. What that means is both species benefit from each other. So my first example here is a bee pollinating a flower. So the flower gets a benefit from the bee because it transfers the pollen from the male part to the female part of the plant, so it can reproduce and make seeds. The bee is benefited because the bee is allowed to get nectar from the flower that then can go take back to his hive and turn into honey. Or a clownfish and a sea anemone from Finding Nemo, they actually are mutualism. The sea anemone is getting a benefit from the clownfish because they'll clean themselves on it, and so they get food. And the clownfish benefits from the sea anemone because it's getting protection because sea anemones sting. I have a side note, just so you know, in clownfish schools, there's one female and all the rest are male. And the males continue to bump into and sometimes nibble on the female because clownfish are female when they're under a lot of stress. And when the female dies, the most dominant male then is given the pressure, so it becomes male. Um, so clownfish can be male or female depending on environmental factors. All right, commensalism. One benefits, one gets nothing to it. It doesn't benefit. It doesn't get harmed. There's nothing there. So the other organism is unaffected. Right now, I have a spider building a web on a tree. The spider's getting benefited here so that it can build the web and catch its food, but the tree's not really harmed by the spider web or spider fibers. It's not harmed. It's not benefited though. There's nothing that's going on there. The shark here, this fish down below, would be the commensalism here. This fish benefits from protection from the shark, and sometimes it gets shark um, leftovers or stuff that comes when it eats. But the shark gets nothing from this fish being here because it's not helping the shark at all. And if that fish wasn't there, the shark wouldn't care. The fish up here on top, that's more mutualism for each other. And this other one, see this spider on this animal, the spider's getting a benefit, but the I'm not sure. I think it's gazelle gets no benefit from it, and it doesn't get any harm from it. It's just there. The last one is parasitism that we're going to talk about. One's benefited, one's harmed. The one that benefits is called the parasite, and the one that is harmed is called the host. Now, if the host dies while the parasite is still attached, the parasite also dies. So sometimes the parasite is there and then it gets off. It just depends. A good example would be a tick on a dog. A tick on a dog. The tick is the parasite. The dog is the host. Sometimes the tick sucks blood, and sometimes it also leaves behind diseases like Lyme disease. This is an example of another parasite. This is a bug that went into a fish's mouth. It's ate off the tongue and then replaced itself as the tongue, so it gets the fish nutrients, and the fish doesn't really get everything it needs. And the other one is a tapeworm in the stomach of a human. That's the last picture over here. The tapeworm gets in sometimes usually from uncooked fish or sushi that's not prepared correctly, and it goes in the stomach and it attaches and it starts to get nutrients. So someone once told me that people who really want to lose weight in the olden days would actually swallow tapeworms on purpose so they could lose weight. I saw a show recently that someone had a tapeworm and it was in their intestine, and they didn't notice until something was dangling out of their rear end, and they had to pull it out that way slowly so it wouldn't break and go back in. But that's parasitism right there. I know I have a lot of stories here, but there's more stuff out there about these different types of interactions. I definitely would go research some of it on your own. Use Google, go watch videos on YouTube. But I hope you learned something today. And this is Mr. Norris, and he is signing out for this video.